Stepping over your landscaping, a common mistake that so many renovators make. Let's imagine going to an open inspection and you're the buyer. Imagine that as you go to walk up the path towards the front door, you're actually stepping over freshly laid, muddy and dirty sods of grass. Does that speak quality? Does that speak finished with finesse? Does that speak a property that you want to buy? Or does that speak, I ran to the finish line, I threw down some grass sods, and I've just gotten this property to the market? Not quite the first impression that you're really after. So many renovators forget early on to plan, protect, isolate, and budget well for their landscaping. And if we think about it, nowadays in Australia, our plot size or our land size is just as valuable as the house size or the square footage or square meterage of our home. And so why do we so often step over our landscaping and absolutely forget what we need to be doing? So here's some of my key elements that I like to think about to make sure I don't step over my landscaping, and so that you don't create the same mistake that so many other renovators have. First thing I do when I go to a property is I isolate areas of the landscaping that are in good condition or that need a little bit of rehabilitation and that the trades don't need access to. I then create a designated work area for the trades so they have undercover, safe and dry place to work without destroying the rest of the yard, because the last thing you want is the entire yard becoming a construction site. Let's face it, the slowest return on investment when we're doing a renovation is really from our plants and our grass. They take the longest time to root, the longest time to look good following being planted or laid. So it's important that you cordon, isolate and protect as much of that landscaping and grass as you can. And then to seal the deal, as soon as all the trades are off site, that small area that you allocated purely for the trades to work, that is when you put some higher quality grass, large size plants, because you have less time to see them through to their fruition once the trades are off site. So instead of stepping over your landscaping and going busting and tearing into the property, make sure that early on in that project you isolate, define and protect a pile of your landscaping. And don't forget, guys, even if you've done that, don't miss the integral step of communicating that with your team. Doing it without communicating means it's mute. It's a bit like if it's not written, it's not real. So make sure that on your site plans and on your team communication and in your team communication folder, you've clearly identified the areas that you don't want trades working on, you don't want products being stored on, and you definitely don't want it used as a rubbish tip. And that's a surefire way to making sure you don't step over your landscaping.